Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a very intriguing, educational, and terrifying encounter to share with you. Before we get into this, though, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook version. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. They're available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those audiobooks are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far, far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? Really quick, I'd like to just talk about two things. Channel and Cryptid related, of course. When I do the media government cover-ups and I start looking between the lines, I'm not always saying Dogman. The other day I did the Alaskan, Tennessee, and the missing little girl from Tennessee. I didn't say I think a Dogman abducted that little girl. I didn't say anything abducted that little girl. For those idiots out there that read between my lines of what I was saying in pure English, if anything, I would assume a Sasquatch would more or less take that little girl. But, you know, that little boy in Kentucky, he was tore up by a Dogman. So, you know, I don't know. I read a couple comments and some sneaky little trolls probably snuck over from someone who really doesn't like me's channel and wanted to put their 2 cents in, which is worth a half a cent if you ask me. Next, the interview that I did the other day. He has agreed to share some pictures. Now, I'm not like the other channel that says, hey, I've got a bunch of pictures. I've seen them. I can't release them. I've seen a couple. I need to look into them, too, a little more before I release them, but I will. But when I or a subscriber or someone I'm interviewing says they've got pictures and, you know, they're not going to release them yet, I respect that. First of all, if someone says, hey, I'll share my encounter, but I've got a couple of pics, I don't want to share them yet, I understand. Now, if they let me see those pictures and I share them, and then they get real upset with me because I didn't have permission, I'm not going to break anyone's anonymity, anyone's trust, because that's what my channel and I am based off of. I don't want to have people going, hey, you know, he interviewed me, it was a great interview, but at the end he shared some pictures that I told him not to. I've got some pictures that I'm sitting on for almost a year and a half from a retired sheriff and now works animal control in North Carolina that I haven't shared with anybody. And she's an amazing researcher. Amazing. Goes out like every weekend. So I just, you know, I wanted to set the thing straight. I'm not Vic Cundiff, and I'm not claiming that I have pictures and you guys can't see them for your own safety. If I have something and I have permission to share it, I will. If I don't, I can't. I'm excited. The couple of pics this guy's going to let me share. But I told him I will share them after I speak to him on the phone, which will be today. So I'll probably put them in tomorrow's video or something. But I just wanted to touch basis on that. Now also, when I mentioned that one person's name just a second ago, I was not insulting him or trying to pick a fight. So I just wanted to set it straight. I don't want to be classified with anyone else. I'm my own channel. I'm my own person. Do I have friends in this? Yes. But I'm not looking for any high school 13-year-old powder puff drama. I just want to do me. So that's the reason why I mentioned his name. Okay? All right. Now let's get into it. All right, well, it looks like the news, media, and government are up to it again. Local government this time. This is really sus, if you ask me. I've been hanging out with my 12 or 13-year-old daughter way too much. Suspicious, excuse me. Police town sees suspicious wave of dog death. Authorities in Pennsylvania town are investigating a suspicious wave of dog deaths. The dogs were found dead under mysterious circumstances in the east side neighborhood of Allentown, Lehigh Valley, Live reported. This is an active and ongoing investigation, Police Captain Michael Becker Jr. told the outlet. The deaths occurred in the 200 block of East Cedar Street and surrounding areas, he states. But authorities did not release the dog's cause of death, how many dogs have died, or whether any suspects have identified in this case. The city's Animal Control Department is assisting police with the investigation. The Morning Call of Allentown reports. Second article I read, authorities in Allentown, PA, say they are investigating what is described as a suspicious wave of dog deaths in the city according to reports, but officials from the city's police and animal control department are tight-lipped about any details of this case, citing their active probe. The Morning Call of Allentown reports. All right, well, check this out. This is what I'm asking. These attacks/deaths are just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the Lehigh River. And if you pull this 2,000 block East Cedar Street up and you look at the map, there is a clear shot of this little section of town. It looks like there's the river, and they could follow that river. Whoever, Dogman, Sasquatch, whatever, can follow that river, zip right up through this, what looks to be a field and some woods. Looks like there's a train track there and a road, and then bam. So why won't the police release the number of dogs that have been killed or anything else? That's really suspicious. And last but not least, I guarantee the news media will either just simply stop talking about it because, hey, you know what? It's only dogs. Or they'll come up with some BS excuse, like old Mr. Rogers from down the block was poisoning them, when really they were ripped up and, shredded into ground beef. So, I don't know. I'm going to stay on this and check it out. I'm actually going to make a call today to the local police department down there and see what I can come up with. All right, moving on. This first part of the second part of the upload is being shared. I've shared this before, but because it actually correlates with the encounter that is at the end going to be shared. Werewolf-like creature spotted near Sam Houston National Forest. My encounter was in September of 2018. I live on the edge of Sam Houston National Forest, a 5 to 10 minute walk from Lake Conroe down FM 1097. Strange things have been happening for about a month, with things coming to my house, weird noises in the woods behind my house. My wife and I had a dog that was taken by something when I saw something grab my dog and yank it into the tree line. Unfortunately, I couldn't see what grabbed her, but when my wife and I went to find her in the place where she had disappeared, there was no signs of a struggle, no blood, no fur, nothing. Like whatever took my dog had just vanished. To shorten my story, it was about 4 a.m. one morning. I was sitting on my porch smoking a cigarette, enjoying the peace and quiet. But at this time, it was too quiet, absolutely no noise. And in the forest, even for 4 a.m., there's always noises. Shining my spotlight around the backside of my property and following the tree line, I came to the biggest tree directly across from my front porch, and next to the tree was the biggest wolf head I had ever seen, looking at me from behind that tree. This thing's enormous head was 4.5 feet from the ground. This was the brightest eyes I had ever seen. They were captivating. I just stared, shaking slightly, with a light in my hand. After a few seconds, this thing grabbed the tree by its hand, not paw, but hand, and stood next to the tree. I was floored. What the hell am I looking at? I was in shock and completely scared. The creature was gray and standing there, just staring at me. I couldn't move, shaking terribly. Then it takes 2 steps towards me, which snapped me out of my trance. I reached behind, trying to find the doorknob. Ran inside, woke up my wife, and begged her to come outside to see this thing. Surprisingly, instead of yelling at me for waking her up, she could tell something was wrong with me by the sound of my voice. She came to the front door, and I just knew this thing was gone, but it wasn't. There it stood, and the look on my wife's face said it all. She was seeing what I saw. The creature then dropped to all fours and walked down the tree line back into the forest. I've never been the same since. It left me scared, where I'm afraid of the woods at night and very jumpy to noises and things. It looked like a giant gray werewolf, which I now know is probably referred to as a dogman. People need to know that these things are out there. I'm not saying people should go out there and obliterate them, if they could even find them, but people should be aware that they exist and they are out there. But believe me, I've tried telling others, and they just laugh and make jokes and think I'm nuts, which makes the people who have encounters shut down and not share their experiences. Anyway, that's it in a nutshell. Though this is where that encounter comes in. The location of this is 45 minutes from my town. There's a wolf sanctuary nearby as well. I'm doing volunteer work there sometimes. Could the wolves smell and the howling attract this dogman to the area? Just came back from a camping trip in the woods. I rented out a cabin for 2 nights. The location is the North Houston region, a rural called Navesta. It's 20 miles from Sam Houston's National Park. There was an encounter recorded there a couple years ago. The witness of one couple who owned a farm by the forest line. One morning, the husband saw a wolf-like creature with green eyes standing 2 feet from the tree line looking at him. The creature came back another time, and the wife saw it as well. Their dog was supposedly taken by the creature not long after, or before. The dogman decided to show itself. Anyway, I heard some weird noises that night, and it sounded like a mix of yelling of a woman and howling of a coyote. I don't know, maybe it was just some birds. This guy also has an aunt who had an encounter. I'm living in Houston, but originally from Michigan, metro Detroit area. This is a story my aunt told me and my cousins a couple years back. When she and her husband first moved to Michigan, more than 2 decades ago, my cousins hadn't been born yet, so they had a lot of time in hand. They decided to take a weekend getaway along with 2 other friends to go sightseeing at the lake of northern Michigan. She doesn't remember exactly how everything happened then, but told us they were encountered by a pack of wolves and had to retreat to their cars. She noticed one was exceptionally large, almost cow-sized among the pack, with black fur and very mean-looking. She didn't mention anything about the wolf standing on 2 legs or something. Just looks like he was the big boss of the pack of the other wolves, and they would abide by his commands. They surrounded their car for a couple of minutes, growling and howling, before my uncle decided it was time to get the hell out of there, before the big black one coming for them. She doesn't remember exact location the encounter happened, but based on my research, wolves can be found in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the Isle Royale area, so it must be around there. Well, I've shared numerous encounters with the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. There's been numerous encounters, and I have 2 from the Isle Royale area. So, and any wolf that is usually the size of a cow is not a wolf. Anyway, moving on. This is a nifty little news article I found out of Newspaper from New Hampshire. To kick it off, I'm writing about more recent cryptid cases that happened in New Hampshire. That is, the Danville devil monkey. The fall of 2001, the small New Hampshire town of Danville came under a national spotlight because the town went to the monkeys. On August 21, 2001, Danville Fire Chief David Kimball reported seeing what he could only describe as a monkey. The fire chief was driving down Kingston Road in Danville, and he saw a large reddish-brown coated primate-type animal jump into the road. Chief Kimball was not the only one to see this creature. 11 other people witnessed it on Kingston Road. The creature soon jumped back into the woods, and it was the start of 2 weeks of sightings of this beast, and the national spotlight started to knock on the small town's door. The chief and other witnesses described the Danville beast as a possible Humboldt's woolly monkey. The type of monkey is indigenous to the Amazon and not New Hampshire. Soon other residents of Danville reported seeing or hearing the creature all around the town of Danville. A married couple in Danville reported seeing and hearing the monkey-type beast in their own backyard. The husband was the first to have an encounter with the creature when he saw the animal in his backyard briefly. His wife says she heard screaming coming from the woods. The wife called the noise a sound that didn't belong in her woods. Soon an encounter came when a local boy told his mom that a monster had stolen a cookie from him. The kid's mother first was thinking that her son was just talking about an imaginary playmate, but then she heard the story about the monkey sightings going around Danville. It came to her that her son could be telling the truth. Soon, Danville residents started to try to capture the animal before cold winter, and it would kill the animal. The folks thinking the monkey had been an escaped pet or was let go by an owner because the state's laws of ownership of primates. The residents tried different ways in hopes of capturing the beast with the likes of the town animal control officer with Humane Society using female monkey urine and hoped to lure the beast in. Even a local DJ tried his hands at getting the monkey by dressing himself in a gorilla costume. As hard as everyone tried, no one had any luck in capturing the beast. Not even hunters who were looking for monkeys armed with dart guns. Soon, national news started to pick up the story of the monkey in Danville, and they started to make their way to Danville. NBC News interviewed both eyewitnesses and town residents for segments that were going on air on the Today Show. The segment for the Today Show was scheduled and set to air, but then the darkest day in America happened. September 11th, terrorist attacks. As fast as the sightings got started, they died out, and the parents had less fear of letting their kids outside because it looked like the beast was gone. The town of Danville went back to normal for most, thinking the monkey was killed by the cold weather and just went away. As life went on in Danville and the beast started to fade from the residents' memories, but it all came back in 2012 when Haverhill, Massachusetts resident was visiting his parents' home in Danville and was cooking in the backyard. As she was cooking, she heard her dog start barking at something. The woman saw a small white and brown monkey climbing the tree. Her family didn't live in Danville in 2001, so she knew nothing about the Danville devil monkey. The new monkey did not fit the description of the last sightings back in 2001. Could a different monkey be on the run? Unlike the past sightings, this was the only sighting of that monkey in 2012 outside of the reports of odd sounds coming from the woods. Different theories have been put out there about what happened in Danville. Most common one in a post that the monkey was an escaped pet or let go by an owner. Also, another idea was the witness mistaken identity for known animal like bear, fisher cats, possum. The theory that more out there is the world of cryptids, that the town of Danville had been visited by a devil monkey. The devil monkey is a primate-type cryptid that lives in North America, with most sightings reported in the South. Reports have them looking like a kangaroo mixed with a baboon, and they're extremely aggressive and will attack anyone who gets close. Unlike Bigfoot, the devil monkeys are very rare and don't get much coverage. Today's next part of the upload is very interesting, but very terrifying in the same sense. Stories of Navajo medicine men or shamans having encounters or altercations with skinwalkers is one not largely spoken about, much like the Vatican exorcists. Most modern encounters today are either a host seeking help from the medicine man, either spiritually, holistically, or physically. In most ways, they are like priests. People find comfort in their prayers, blessings, and guidance. In times they don't understand fully or seeking just to be enlightened by words of wisdom or knowledge. They are also like an alternative psychiatrist or therapist with experience in medicinal remedies. From what I was able to piece together from bits and parts of other stories, a group of medicine men, when horses were introduced to Navajos, some with their own abilities, being mediums, energy drawers, conduits, some supernatural or natural, would investigate claims and rumors about the Navajo Nation, seeking out these skinwalkers, are spiritual and unexplainable phenomenon. People who being host to the strange phenomenon would seek out these medicine men for help, some even traveling hundreds of miles to the southwest. In one such encounter, heard from an elder when he was a young boy becoming a man. His grandfather's grandfather would ride around the Navajo Nation and off, sometimes going as far into the Canadian territories to the Northern Territory of Mexico, helping people in their ailments, spiritually and physically, under discretion and some form of payment. He then talked about when they would come across definite proof of demonic hauntings and presence, much like how the church would investigate demonic presences. One encounter he remembers that happened in the heartland regions of the Navajo Nation, specifically Danville, Arizona. An elderly man spent a week herding his livestock to their winter property. When he finally returned home that day, he found his wife had not prepared their wagon with their belongings. But seeing her rifle and horse were gone, he thought she must have been getting supplies or went to visit nearby residents they knew in the region. Times back in the day for Navajo, they kept busy all day, much like ranchers and farmers. They were always cautious of strangers, and burglarizing and ransacking of property was not common but low. Land tracking was a very common skill before it wasn't. He had noticed nothing was disturbed out of the ordinary, but he had a feeling his wife went to a nearby friend's. His gut feeling was right and found out that his wife was there, but also asked why she left their place with the valuables and wagons unguarded. She told him the following. One of the goats came back and only stood in one direction. With a stick in hand, she attempted to snap it out of whatever trance it was in. It screamed and dropped dead. She thought it could be ailments or termites in the horns eating away at its brain. She didn't want to waste whatever was salvageable. She butchered the goat and hung the wool skin in the sun to dry. She placed the still intact headless goat in the back of one of the wagons. As she went about finishing her chores to pack up the wagon, she heard rattling outside. Thinking it was a rattlesnake on the property, she went to find it, but came to notice the sheepskin was gone. Thinking that someone was on the property and trying to rob them, she went into the hogan to get their rifle. Gun at the ready, she didn't get far before noticing that the goat skin was dragging on the ground. Thinking it was an animal, instead she followed the dragging trail and kept an eye for an animal in the distance. Instead, she noticed not far ahead the skin hide was dragging itself, gliding over the ground. She shot at it more than several times, but it kept going towards some washes in the land within the hilly terrain. Unsure of what she had seen, she decided not to stay the night and left for the neighbors. Hearing this, the husband had her and the neighbors go to find the local medicine man common in the area, but it would be a couple of days. Returning with the elderly medicine man, 3 men accompanied him. The wife then showed them where she had stopped following the skin, and they went from there. Unable to accompany them, the husband and wife kept a bonfire going all night as a waypoint for them to see in the night sky. Late in the first night, one man came back and asked if they could spare a horse, as one of theirs had fallen into a ditch and severely injured himself. So they instead had to shoot it. Agreeing, they let him take the husband's horse, as it was fast and knew the area. Into the next day, no sign of them returning happened. Then the night came. They built the bonfire again so they would be able to see it if they were near. Not long after, another one of the men came back and asked if they could spare another horse, agreeing, thinking something happened to their horse. They took the wagon horse. Later into the night, the final and third man of the group came to the house and asked if he could have another horse. Anxious on an update, the husband asked if they had found the goat skin. Not saying anything else, the third man asked again if he could spare a horse. The husband agreed, but only if he could check on his other horses. Third man agreed, and they rode out into the night. Coming upon the ridge in the night, lighted up by the full moon, the third man rode to the sound of the sweat lodge ceremony the medicine man and two other men were conducting. Coming upon the sweat, he respected the strict custom around the medicine man. In the middle of ceremony, he stayed silent. It is custom among Navajo culture and all native cultures to be quiet during ceremony and not to break the concentration of medicine man. The third man told the husband not to look into the open sweat lodge doorway. He had to keep the glowing dim lava rocks hot and not to look back into the sweat lodge direction until they were done. He sat there with the low dim fire and kept the rocks hot, listening to the chanting. Then he noticed a blurry white mass out in the distance below. No ambient light came from it, only a white mass, like someone wearing all white in the moonlight. He was atop the cliff looking down below to a barren flat desert and washes. He saw it darting left and right, going into the washes and coming out, going hundreds of feet in no pattern, faster than any horse could run and way faster than someone who can even run fast. Twilight was coming up and the white mass disappeared into the wash to his right and never came back out. He observed everywhere below to see where it was, and still listening to the song of the medicine man and his assistant were singing, he could hear the heavy footsteps of his wife's horse. He did as he was told and did not turn around once to check on the horse. But then the heavy horse thud stopped and got closer to him in rhythm of two, like someone was walking, and he was on high alert to turn around. He felt a hard clutch on his shoulder. He screamed and cried out in agony, yelling, and was ready to fight whatever it was in the night. But it was the old medicine man. The husband was frightened by the feeling, such a strong, heavy presence. The old man asked what he was doing far out, away from his home. Confused, he said he had came along with one of the old man's assistants to check on the horses, but instead he made him a fire watcher. The old man, with concern, said they had all seen the goat skin, and they were chasing it into the wash to trap it on the high sand walls. But it had killed two of his men the first night when they entered the wash, by collapsing the side walls when they got close to the goat skin on the ground. He and his last assistant went to trap it in the cliff sides during the next day, but couldn't get to the top of the cliff where it was. So he went ahead and his last assistant stayed where he had last seen it below. He went along and around the cliff sides to find a trail up, but that took most of the day, and he came upon the husband. He followed the smell of dead animal and scattered flesh and blood, then heard the sound of drumming ceremony in the night. He couldn't tell where it was until the sky lightened up from the early morning. He then finally saw him there sitting near the edge of the cliff, thinking he was being tricked. The husband opened the makeshift sweat lodge door, looked inside. He could see it was made of his horse's bones and not wood, and there lied on the opposite side of the door. He saw the goat skin. The medicine men took the skin and they burned down the sweat lodge to ashes in a bonfire. The husband asked how the skin could do that, The old medicine man explained that something else in the night came for the goat skin on the second night. They thought it was him, the husband, coming out to find them, but it was not. They rode to the sounds of the heavy galloping and dark flashes of something in the moonlight. In the nights they hunted it like a predator animal, and trying to lure it into the wash and caves by sacrificing one of the horses to the collapse of the high sand walls, but to no avail. Returning back to the husband's house, the wife told them that where she had put the carcass of the goat, it was gone and could not find the tracks. When time came to go to their winter property, they never returned back to their original property. Time passed, and the land turned into sand dunes, and the hogan, with no upkeep, soon fell apart over the years. And when it finally collapsed in, they never rebuilt. Wow, that's friggin' chilling. That is chilling because, it's funny because I've been in many sweats. The best one that I've ever experienced in my life, I was probably 18. And it was after my Dogman encounter. And I was on the Aquasachie Reservation, which is north of me. It was a beautiful experience, don't get me wrong. I was sweating with three other people, so there's 4 of us. And we were using rocks from Mount St. Helen, which was just, prior to this and the other sweats that I had been in, we were using like rocks local to the region, not lava rock. And they were great sweats as well, but this one was just magical, if you know what I mean. So the sweat happens, and it was just great. It was very spiritual and uplifting, but as the ceremony progressed, we took a break and we went and had some water outside, and it was snowing out. It was friggin' cold, but it was still gorgeous. It was great. The power was there. I remember feeling it. So we get back in the sweat and we're praying, and I look over to the middle part of the sweat lodge, and there's this old man sitting there, and I'm like, wow, maybe I didn't see this guy come in. Maybe he came in during the break. I had my eyes closed during the sweat. For some reason I decided to open my eyes and look, and I didn't think much of it because he was just sitting in the middle, so there was 2 on both sides, and he was in the kind of the head of where he, if he was of importance, should have been. So anyway, the sweat ends. I feel great. For those of you who have sweat in a sweat lodge, you know what I'm talking about. You just feel like cleansed. Body, you feel like your body is cleansed. You feel like your spirit is cleansed. The energy around you is just clean and great feeling. And it's a lot like a sauna, but it's just so much better. But you just get that just great feeling. So we get out of the sweat, and we're all standing around, and I'm talking to my friend, who's my cousin, but at the time, and we're just shooting the shit. And I look around, and I'm like, hey, where's the old guy? And they all look at me like I've got 6 heads. They're like, it's just us 4, man. I'm like, huh? What? And they're like, it's just us 4. And I'm blown away. And I never forget this guy. His name was Jack Duguay. A couple years older than me. Really jacked. Just jacked native dude. Super nice though. And he's like, you saw the Father Spirit. And I was like, dude, that was awesome. And it was like the spirit of the stone is what he said I saw, the Father Spirit. But it was great, and for some reason this story just made me think of that time because it was an amazing experience. And I honestly encourage anybody who can and has friends that are native to ask them, to say, hey, do you know how to perform a sweat ceremony? And if they do, just go for it, because it's just so positive and uplifting. And I need to participate in another sweat, to be honest, because it's been so long. I worked longer than 20 years now. And I feel, I don't know, compared to that day getting out, now that I think about it, I feel unclean. Physically, spiritually, emotionally. So I really need to do another sweat and just kind of cleanse the inner me. So I don't know, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. I know you guys probably found it kind of dumb, but it just reminded me of this. The sweat was built by, because they're built by blankets now, and well, up here they are, probably down wherever you guys are if you guys sweat, but it's small. It's kind of like a little, I don't know, a little like a igloo shaped thing. It's not big at all. Definitely great though. So yeah, anyway, moving on, sorry. Tonight's final encounter. My best friend has 52 acres, 90% of which is woods, aside from an opening where there's a barn and a house. This all started off as silly superstitions, but now I'm afraid it's real. She kept telling me there was something definitely in the woods. The property was vacant for 3 years. The owner's wife sold it to her under her husband's nose just to get rid of it. They haven't spoken to her since the sale. They can't be reached. The cattle dogs, the chickens, the puppies in training, and even the horses have sensed something that is not the usual coyote behavior. We know when coyotes are close. I've been in the woods alone. It's part of my job working for her. The cattle dog would bark and hold his ground, and one time I followed him, and he started whimpering and ran back. One other time he was right next to the raptor, and something intimidated him from a few feet away. We have seen something come out of the woods at night in the distance, mammal-like. On all fours it stood its ground, and when the dogs went after it, it ran. I showed my friend a picture, and she said it definitely resembled a maned wolf, and that it's impossible for where we live. I was on the property alone with the animals over the weekend. While she was gone, I heard my babies babbling outside the front door. My babies were not on this property. They were 20 miles away with my husband at my house. That night my dogs were going insane, and so were the chickens. The horses are usually docile, and now they are jumping and suspicious. Something killed a chicken last night, and a weird part is that there was no blood anywhere. The organs and guts were gone. It was just feathers and body. I don't know how else to describe it. No blood, no nothing. Just an empty animal or chicken corpse. So strange, I don't know what to do. We've heard screeches at our front door at night. This was also when I accidentally whistled at night to call in the animals for the evening. I usually don't whistle at night. I was tired and it slipped. How convenient. This and many other occurrences have happened. It's my best guess as to what this may be. I'm not getting any answers from Google or any protections or wards. Sometimes I'm out there alone with my twin infants working the property, and my friend primarily is alone working because her husband works night shifts far away. We just want insight or help. Wow. Alright, I'm not going to talk you guys' ear off because I know I babbled quite a bit in this one. But that one is terrifying. I know I shared it about a month ago. I forgot that I had shared it. I've got little piles of encounters all around my studio, and well, I must have liked it because I left it out. Usually I have them filed in a filing cabinet, and but maybe it needed to be heard. Who knows? That's usually how things work, right, guys? Anyway, yeah, so back to everything else. I wish there was a way that I could sit and kind of discuss everything with the YouTube community who does what I do, or the other organizations, NADP, BFRO, stuff like that. That we all need to work together and put our differences aside, our different views and shit like that. No one's better than anybody. You've got people who have never seen anything but have been in the woods and, carried guns and this and that, and they proclaim to be experts and start groups and stuff like that, but they don't. How are you an expert? You haven't seen one. It doesn't make me an expert because I saw one. It makes me no better than anybody. No one's an expert in this field, I believe. But I think we all need to work together, put the differences aside. I'm going to reach out to a couple people. I did reach out, actually. I reached out to Josh Turner about a month ago when I found out his mom had passed. And I sent him a message and a friend request on Facebook. He accepted my request, but didn't respond to my message, which I was kind of, I don't know, not really upset by, taken back by, I guess, because it was nice, never talked to the dude. The guy talked smack about me and my channel for a while, but I gave him the olive branch, but he accepted my friend request, so who knows. Seems like a decent guy. He seems angry, though. I think he needs to just kind of tone the anger down a little bit and maybe steer that anger into the research. But I don't know. I've never spoken to him, so I'm just going off of what his face looks like. But he looks angry to me. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, so that's it. I just wish we could all get along and put our differences aside. Because I think that's the biggest thing that the government is doing, is they're sending these weirdo people in that really don't belong in the community, that are just working as operatives, I feel, that just kind of like throw disclaimers at everybody, and everybody's that does this, whether you're a YouTuber or you're a book writer or you are a field operative or you're this or you're that, I don't consider myself a full-on YouTuber because, I have a channel, but I do a lot of research more so than I, do. I'm literally reading and researching documentation and, about native culture, old artifacts found, old hieroglyphs, and stuff like that. So, I just think that's what we need to look at, shit like that. But, I don't know. I really want to bring where I'm at on this channel. I want to bring it up. I want to bring it up 10 more notches. I want to bring the channel up. I want to bring, I just want to keep giving back to this community because this community rocks, man. Yeah, you've got some trolls, you've got some freaking idiots that write on Reddit and, but all in all, I have met some of the most wonderful and great people, kind people on having this channel. and I'm thankful for it. So, for all of you guys who I have met and had dealings with, and you all know who you are, and everybody who comments in the comment section, thank you. Because you guys really keep it going for me. You guys really keep it real. So, all right, now I'm just fucking talking to talk. So, let's end this. Farewell, guys. See ya!